This episode of the Long Run Podcast is sponsored by Skechers. Good evening, everybody, and welcome to the what's Hayden like? Good evening, everybody, and welcome to the Long Run Show live podcast live stream. And yes, guess who's in charge tonight? Woo! You've got big problems. Every single person listening to this live or on your podcast, anything could happen tonight. Firstly, we're lucky to even be online because I did muck up the start, couldn't find the intro, but don't worry about that. So tonight we are talking about speed or stamina. I'm going to define that in a second, but before I do that, we've got to get the admin out of the way. We've got to give a shout out to our sponsors, Skechers. Go over to skechers.co.uk, check out all the latest running shoes and kit and clothing. So go and check out Hayden's actually modelling some of their beautiful hoodies, and I'm not just saying that they are the best hoodies. Yeah, well done, Hayden. And yes, so talking about, let's introduce the team. So joining me tonight, we've got everyone's favourite coach, Coach Al. We've got Ben, and then we've got everybody's boy band favourite, Mr. Richie himself. Hayden is with us as well. And look at all these people already joining us live. So thanks to everybody joining us live. If you are watching live, you can join in the comments. We will be picking up any questions you want to start with a cue, jump in and throw that in there. We're going to be picking on some of your comments and questions as we go through the evening. You can talk about whatever you like. Admin's not here and Jatila's not here. Wilco's not here. So it's open season, really. So just put anything in you want. If you want to know what songs that Hayden was singing in on 6, as they were called, and obviously they went down to 5 when they got rid of him, then just let us know in the comments. If you want to know what he then did after that, you also let us know in the comments. Right, I'm also going to put a thing in there. So if you're on Facebook, you can click on a link and then we know who's on it. Right, so it's all boys tonight, actually. That's I think that we haven't done that in a while, actually, all boys. So that's kind of different as well, which is good. I've noticed Hayden has copied my hat as well. Maybe I should do a 6 major hat thing as well. What do you think, Ben?
What, official or unofficial?
Well, obviously everything I do is official. So I'm just wondering if I should go all 6 hats. What do you think?
I think you should.
Yeah, I'm thinking that we're 3 minutes in and you haven't told the truth once. You've spoke absolute rubbish. 3 minutes, told lies, made up stories.
Well,
we need one of the girls back.
Al, as our sort of sensible person on the show tonight, what do you think?
Well, I was looking at us and I was thinking, you kind of listed all those that are not on. So what does that put us as a kind of bunch of C-listers?
Yeah.
We're kind of really straight from the barrel.
We're the only people who haven't got lives.
Yeah.
That's the second time I've heard that this week.
Oh, really, Ben? Oh, you had a bad week, have you?
My boss told me I didn't have a life. That's how I can marathon train. I was like, oh, thanks.
Yeah, but that is I'll be honest with you, that is kind of actually relevant, to be honest.
Yeah.
To be able to marathon train or half marathon train, you kind of just have to have like no life.
But to be called out at work for that was
strong. Maybe we should get your boss on. Name and shame. Right. So, no, let's not do that. Right, we've got a busy weekend coming up. We'll spin around, I think, at the end and catch up with what everybody's doing. I've got to give a shout out to the guys who are doing the Leeds Marathon because it's a big event up in Leeds, up in the wonderful place that is Yorkshire. If you've not checked out what's going on up there, I think, Hayden, you've got more of the details on what's going on up at Leeds this weekend, haven't you?
Yeah. Well, this weekend, for their first time, it's the inaugural event. Got the Leeds Marathon. So up in Yorkshire, we've always had has it been known? I'm not sure if it's known as the Yorkshire Marathon or the York Marathon, yeah. Which has always been quite a big event, but I think this year it's not in memory because obviously he's still alive, but Rob Burrows, gentleman that played rugby league for the Leeds Rhinos for, I think his whole career, 15, 16 odd years, and like at the absolute top of his game. And just after retiring, I think it's back in 2019, he contracted motor neurons disease. It's actually a really sad story. And since his plight has been sort of like spread all around all around the world, but particularly in Yorkshire and up in Leeds, it's become like a real big thing. And they decided to put this marathon on, and Leeds Runners herself, fair play to them, they donated like big money towards all this research and this centre that Rob Burrows wants to get set up, big amounts. So they've set this marathon up. Originally, they were looking at, I read something about they were going to have 7,777 places available. That's like, it's relevant to the number he wore as a rugby player. But in the end, I looked this morning, I think they got 12,500 people doing it. So it's nearly sort of double. This was really took on. I think it's got that whole being from the south. I'll be the first one to confess it. We don't have that as much community spirit. We really don't. You go up to Newcastle and the Great North Run is everything to them, and you feel it, and you know that that's just such a big thing. I've got a feeling this is what's going to happen in Leeds with this marathon. I know it's the first time, but it's got that feel about it.
That's a good shout, actually. It does feel like it's a bit like a Great North Run kind of thing that's starting up there. I think what's amazing is it's got, I think I may be wrong, but I'm sure I read it's got 60% of the people who are doing their first marathon. I might have that number wrong, but it's a really high number of people who have entered are going to be taking on their first marathon. And I'll be honest with you, apparently it's not very flat. so I would use the word lumpy from what I've been told about the course. So yeah, I think that's a fantastic shout out actually at the front end of the show. It's obviously about motor neuron disease, Rob Burrows, and the whole thing around the event. But good luck to anybody who's taking on their first marathon because they're inspired of what's going on up there, all around Rob Burrows and the motor neuron disease and that sort of stuff as well, and bringing attention to that cause. So that's really powerful. We can't wait to see how that gets on. And then maybe next year we could all go and do it. What do you think?
Yeah, honestly, I think this is going to be something that is going to take off everywhere. It's going to become sort of like it's going to have ballot places and everything. Yeah. I also think they're going to raise absolute shed loads of money, not just for motor neuron disease, for all sorts of charities. And the fact it starts and finishes in the stadium, and like Leeds Rhinos up there. Maybe people that aren't from there, they don't realise the community that it holds together. It's just it's such a big thing up there. So it's going to be a big old marathon.
Yeah. So if you're going up there, good luck. Let us know if you're listening live. If you're going up there, if you're listening to this back as a podcast and you've done it, let us know you got on. There we go. You ever fancy going up to Leeds? Because they do a Leeds 10K as well, didn't they, Al? I think, have you ever done that one? Or
no, it's I don't want to come across as sounding a bit southern, but no, I haven't kind of made it up that far.
What about you must have done a park run up there, Al.
Well, I've done York,
right?
But that meant we bypassed Leeds to get to York. So I have been.
I wonder how many park runs. There you go, Al. How many park runs Leeds got? Found that out.
All right, I'll go and do a little.
That gives him something to do. Keep the old boy busy. Right. So, what's this? Leeds Marathon from Gary has got elevation gain of 675 meters. I don't know whether that's a lot or not because I don't know about you boys, but I don't pay any attention to the elevation because once I sign up for something, I just got a cowboy up and get on with it. Oh, by the way, welcome everybody who's playing 40 bingo tonight. Yes, I've just said cowboy up. So congratulations, tick that off. But yeah, so a 675 meters, I've got no idea whether that's good or pony, to be honest with you.
The problem with it is you can't just look at elevation like that. Some might end up being an overall sort of elevation of 0 because you've got the ups and downs. That doesn't help when you're going up the ups. The downs might be good, but you still got to go up them bloody ups.
Yeah, so, but as you found with Boston, it was the downhills at speed that kill you.
Yeah. Well, they that's because they throw you out of sync. You train for something at a pace and an intensity, and that just it throws everything out because it throws in a different thing into the mix. Unless you've trained for that, yeah, absolutely, it's not the best thing. And then obviously once you trying to overcome that, you got hit by an actual big hill. So yeah, all round it's not great. But these marathons 675, I don't know. I don't know much about it. It don't sound that bad.
No, I just fancy doing it. I like what you said that about the sort of Great North Run feel about it. I think that's what we've got. Right. So I'm going to give a shout out to some of the people we've got. We've got Dawn, evening. Chris turned into an accidental 10K. Run the World in Aaron saying we're not on Facebook. I think we are, but I might be wrong. Stephen Simmons, evening. Gary, love the Spice Girls picture of Hayden. That wasn't that was real, by the way. Lloyd's in the house, Mr. Cycling. If you're doing Ride 100, Lloyd's doing effectively a peloton of people. I think is that what the right term is for biking? Loads of biking people.
Yeah.
It's the worst. And the start times out for that. That's another good reason why I'm not doing it now. Have you seen the start times for people? Some people have got to be there at like 4 o'clock in the morning. I say stupid like that. Another reason why the king is going to outlaw it. So if you're thinking about getting into biking, don't bother because the king's going to outlaw it after this weekend. It's going to be the last time that event takes place. It's just pointless. Evening, Seamus. Mark Langon, evening, lads. Is it too early to tell everyone to click? No. Apparently, right. And I found this out on the bite size on a Monday. We do a bite size thing on a Monday live stream. If you're into like gear and just want to hang out with me, come along on 8 o'clock on a Monday. But if you hit the like button, the algorithm loves it. So everybody who's watching live, just get on there and smash the life out of it. Oh, what is it? 20,000 of you that are watching live. Get on there. So Hayden, as we know, has got a forfeit. Him and Speedgoat failed miserably, absolutely miserably.
That's harsh.
At their Garmin competition. Did you remember this, Ben? Now, when they just abandoned all hope when they didn't bother trying to put an effort in at their latest marathons, and obviously one person did, but that was me. So I don't have to sing a song. So Hayden has got his lawyers in touch today and said that he's not allowed to sing because of his contractually. And not allowed to do it because of his link with 6, obviously, who are now called 5. But I don't know what Speedgoat's excuse is. So Speedgoat's is working with his active job today. So when he's back, he's definitely got to sing his song. And then Hayden, I think we'll let the lawyers sort it out, shall we?
Yeah, it's best off that way. I don't want to get the long run.
No, we don't want to get another copyright strike. By the way, if you listened a couple of weeks back, when they did put the Garth Brooks thing up, we actually got a copyright strike for that. So that's quite amusing. Listen back to that one. We actually I tried cutting down in the edit, right, the song down to about 2 or 3 seconds just to see if the still picked it up, still got a copyright strike. Thanks very much, everybody. Right, so here we go.
I'm getting a bit of grief actually about the old elevation. People are telling me 675 is a lot. It's similar to Snowdon Marathon. That sounds bad. And then Sir Sebastian is coming with 675 is half Beachy Head Marathon, which is considered one of the toughest. So it doesn't sound bad. Hayden, give it a go. Ooh.
Yeah, I think you should, Hayden. I was talking to Posty. Was it Posty on Wednesday? I saw Posty. He's thinking about doing Beachy Head. That's a bit of a hardcore one, the old Beachy Head Marathon. How do you fancy doing Beachy Head Marathon? It's a bit different.
No, because in my previous life as a course setter-upper for Endurance Life, I've had to run some of those 7 hills or the 7 sisters. So carrying a bag of swag as well, but it is beastful. Coming down one of them, you literally have to go on your backside. So
no, thanks.
No, I'll be swerving that one as well.
Yeah, that's not for me. And Benny boy, you just got back from where was you in America, weren't you?
Yeah, I was in Detroit.
What was that like?
It was nice. I went for a few runs along the river, but they had closed various points along the river, so I had to keep coming off of the river randomly along a highway, back onto the river, back. But no, it was good. It was nice to get a change of scenery. Sadly, I mean, they do have Parkrun in the US, but there's for such a big country, I think there's about 49 maybe. So my closest one was going to cost me about £65 round trip, which I decided wasn't value for money.
Couldn't you expense it? Your boss ain't listening. Couldn't you expense that?
I mean, I could have.
You was out for dinner.
I was out for dinner in an Uber. Yeah, I mean, that was why I stayed an extra day, was to do Parkrun, and then I realised how expensive it was going to be to get there.
I wonder if there's a Detroit Marathon.
Well, I said this to you on Tuesday. After I finished the run, I then wandered round, and there were all these people with race numbers on and medals, and I was like, rookie mistake. I hadn't checked if there was a race.
Schoolboy error. It's the first thing you're doing it when you go on holiday. I know you was working. You're like, totally did do whatever. But it's the first thing you do is check, like, Parkrun. Is there a race on that weekend or that week that you can go to?
So I checked Parkrun. I forgot to check the race. But yeah, there is a Detroit Marathon. And the good thing with that one, so you have to, in advance, you have to clear passport control because you cross the border. I don't know if you start in Canada or just cross over into Canada.
Oh, really?
Wow.
So, yeah.
So technically, it's a marathon in 2 countries.
Technically.
I kind of like the sound of that.
Definitely.
I mean, I think I can incorporate it into a work.
Who sponsors that event?
I don't know.
Ford Motor Company, probably. That's the only thing
probably.
I know.
Yeah, probably. Yeah, it's got to be
a car company, isn't it?
Yeah.
It's got to be a cut. There's loads of comments. Keep them coming, guys. We will get to them in a minute. Hayden, you're getting hammered in the comments, which is brilliant.
Oh, no.
Someone was talking about your cigar a minute ago, which just made me wet myself. What you shaking your head for? Well, they're the best shoe ever.
You've got to get over this.
Before we get on to the business that we're going to be talking about, speed versus stamina, we've got to give a shout out to PB. PB is she there?
She is. They are
If
there.
you're talking to York, how is this? So if you're at York Parkrun tomorrow, or if you're in that sort of area or can get there, get along. Our very famous own PB Petra is going to be there with a few sort of retrobates. Is that the word? Or sort of?
That's the word you use.
No, Ben, I was reading your mind. What's the better way of saying it, Al, without getting myself into too much trouble?
Retrobates.
Retrobates. There we go. It's got a ring to it. That was Hayden. He just put it in the private chat. So
No,
Petra,
do not get me involved in this.
But yeah, so PB's there. She's got a few retrobates with her, causing havoc at the York Park Run tomorrow. So get along to there and see our very own PB, who bend Ben, which I still think is one of the best pictures I've seen for a long time. How did that feel, Ben, getting bend?
It was very disappointing because I'd done it to her and I was too far away from the camera, and so she got me back as we approached the camera. So
if you've got no idea what we're talking about, Ben, do you want to explain what getting bend is?
So it is sticking your arms up, cheering just as you're approaching a camera to basically block everyone out around you.
Yeah, he's got like the biggest arms in the world and he blocks everybody's pictures out. Don't ever run with him if you want a good race picture. If you've ever been bend, send in your pictures, go via the website, send in your pictures and we'll put them up in a couple of weeks' time. So send in your bend. Oh, actually, no, Al, Hayden, I tell you what they could do. Don't send them in, waste of time. Let's go back. Let's get out of 1987. Get on Instagram and tag. What's our Instagram?
What our long run show is.
Yeah, you can't use your own boy band. We can't use 5. We can't get people to tag 5. Or that musical you was in. What was that musical? Was it Wicked you was in, or was it Oliver?
Oh, what's his story? You're brewing something.
I'm not making that up. Was you in a musical?
I've gone from a boy band to like one of the biggest musicals.
Before you went into the boy band, you was in musical theatre school at a young age, right? And you was in the West End. It was either Oliver or Wicked, because I got contacts. Which one was it?
I can't believe how much you seem to know about me. It's incredible, isn't it? You must have done your research.
Done my research, but
you wrote your Wikipedia.
Yeah, this is the thing. So if you go onto Wikipedia, you'll find Hayden. He was in 6, and it was either in Wicked or he was in Oliver. Anyway, what's the handle for our Instagram?
It is a hashtag long run show.
Hashtag or?
Are you just talking? Oh, the actual handle.
Yeah,
No, it's at long run show. That is
thrown him out. I've proper thrown him out.
I'm reminiscing, thinking back to them days, them stage days. Oliver, please, sir, can I have some more?
Could you rock out a dance move, dance routine?
I'll have to check with the legal team.
Yeah, he's not. I don't think he's legally allowed. But we could, in theory, you could sing.
No, whoa! This is going too far now. David Long was Hayden the real H from Steps?
No, he wasn't in Steps. He was in 6 that became 5. He wasn't in Steps. He was in 6. So there we go. Right. So I was going to go and talk to. Oh yeah. So get your bend pictures on us in Instagram. Tag whatever he just said. I can't remember if we got there or not. And I want to dive in. Ben, have you been looking at any of the questions? Oh, I've got to give last shout out, and then we'll get on to some running talk. But it is kind of running late. We've got to give a shout out to Big Ben, who I don't know about you, Ben. Coach, you must have seen this. He's been blowing out his training runs. We could be in trouble in June. So if you don't know the story, Ben, did you ruin him in Chelmsford?
I did.
Yeah. The Chelmsford half, Ben ruined Ben. And if you've not seen the video, Ben is the one who ran like 1 million days on his and he's still going anyhow.
Yeah, he's up to about 1,200 and something, I think.
Yeah. But he's going to Southend to run a PB. And Ben is going to, like Ben who bends people, is going to pace him. And I've been roped into it. But this week, we saw a training run of his. And we both sort of looked at it and went, oh, you can imagine the word. We better start running.
I've already got my excuse in. I'm going to be jet lagged. I land from San Francisco 2 days before. I've already bailed out of this one.
I'm going to need an excuse. I can't use the ride 100 thing anymore because I'm not doing it. So I need to think of another excuse. What I'll have to think of something. I don't know.
We got time. We got enough time. We got another 3
Yeah,
weeks.
we'll have to fit. But he's absolutely killing his training run. So he's got some new shoes, and we're ready to go. So that's going to be great. Hopefully, you're all coming to the South End Half. We're doing the big pink picnic afterwards. So even if you can't run, or you don't want to run, you don't want to get up early, but come down for the picnic after. I know they're after volunteers and marshals and things down there at South End Half. I know it's, for some people it's in the wrong end of the country and all that sort of stuff. But if the weather's fantastic, it's a great day out. It raises money for a fabulous charity down there. But also it's just a great event. Last year's pink picnic was great fun. The club put some money together. So there's some drink and some nibbles and things like that afterwards. And it's just a really relaxed vibe and everybody hangs out and just chills. This is a great way to meet.
We're actually going even larger this year. I've been in secret conversations with the chairman about some hashtag Jenga and hashtag massive play your cards right cards.
Yeah, so I think
bring the bingo bus and other fun games.
I think everybody who gets on the bus, we're going to talk about that next, is mandatory unless they've got some form of like lawyer like Hayden does to get him out of singing, even though he didn't bother like running a proper time in his marathon because Garmin was right and he was wrong. Should like basically all have to come. I think it should be mandatory tomorrow, but they're all nodding, so that's good news. So Al, let's talk quickly. Well, we can talk about Eurovision, or we can talk about the Curly Whirly Parkrun that you guys are going to be doing tomorrow.
We'll talk about the Curly Whirly, and it will overlap into Eurovision, because I think we'll be heading back just as the warm up for the Eurovision kind of kicks off. But I think last count, Hayden, we were about 85
looking that way.
Club members, community members heading down to Somerdale Parkrun, which is the official name of the Curly Whirly Parkrun. Unlike previously, we've been in touch with the race director. They do know we're coming. They do know we're going to cause chaos. As usual, we've got people running and volunteering. I think we've got a couple of people also pacing the day. But that's only half of it. The parkrun is actually just a bit of an aside for 30 odd minutes or so. The fun starts, I think, at 4 a.m. Is that right, Hayden? Have I got a bit of Dartford for 4 a.m.?
It does, yeah.
So I've got to go to bed in a minute because I've got to get up at 2 a.m. So I think I can make it to the end of the podcast with the amount of sleep I'll need. But it's going to be an awesome day. We're going to have great fun at the parkrun. Mark Sloan's played a blinder. We can walk from parkrun to breakfast. Then once we've done breakfast, we jump on the bus and we're going to do a bit of culture and possibly some beers in Bath before turning around and coming back again tomorrow evening, which is always been part of the ethos of our extreme parkrun. It's the challenge of getting as far away from home as we can in a reasonable amount of time at a reasonable cost with the most amount of people. And I think we've gone from about 25 in Dublin up to 85, and it could be more because we've got as many self-travellers now as we have on the bus. So we do miss out a little bit on the bus because there is bus bingo on the way back. Just as everyone's flagging, we get on, or Hayden gets on the mic to be precise.
Yeah, surprise! That's a real surprise, that one, isn't it? Oliver. Everybody, what is it? No,
you tell me. You seem to know more than me.
Yeah, so it's going to be a good day, and I think even the weather's starting to look kind for us after.
Honestly, guys, the weather's going to be fab. So you guys are going to have I've got to give a shout out to Al, Hayden, Carolyn, and everybody else who goes into organising these things, because it really is a strong community club event that just emphasises everything about what we do. We've got to give a massive thanks to those guys for organising it, to put all this effort in to bring these people together, to organise this travel, to come up with these crazy things. I've been to one; it's amazing. If you can't do this one, then make sure you do the next one. It's just it's just a great vibe, and it emphasises everything about 40 runs and the inclusivity and just coming together, having some fun with a bit of running, and the rest of it. And it's just amazing. And if you're in another part of the world, you've got absolutely no idea. Honestly, it's worth even flying over. So if you're like listening to this in Manila, it's worth getting on a plane and coming over and doing it with these guys, because they just have the best time. And it just encompasses everything about 40 runs with what they do. Parkrun and all abilities, inclusivity and fun. And that's what it's all about. Getting together and meeting new people and socialising. It's so good for you. Really, Really is. Now, Ben, the chat has been lit up like Hayden's fireworks on stage when he comes on. So I've seen a couple of questions. Let's dive into a few of them, and then we'll move on to the topic. Where have we got?
Okay, so we've got one here from RJB Detailing. Doing my first marathon in October, only a small event with 250 participants. So any advice for running a smaller event?
Oh, okay. Well, Al, we did Dorney, didn't we?
We did just kind of, I think it was one of the first to come back after COVID. So I guess numbers were deliberately limited for that. So it was a small field we had quite a spread. There were waves, but it was spread over a couple of hours from memory. Yeah. You could get there at 10 o'clock or you could get there at 12. But I guess the thing about Dorney, you're kind of running laps. You do get to see everyone. I think the thing about running a marathon at 250, the chances are there's going to be long periods where you might be on your own, or you could be just one of a very small few in the back of the course, and that takes a lot of mental toughness. There's challenges running the big marathons like London's and the Boston's, but I think actually running the smaller ones where you haven't got the crowd and you haven't got the infrastructure necessary to support you on the day makes it even more challenging. So for me, I definitely make sure you've got hopefully your aftershocks are allowed. They're normally licensed. So
I've had a brilliant idea, Al.
Go on.
They could actually binge for 2.5 hours episodes of the From One podcast. There you go.
There you go, RGB. 2.5 hours target time. Should be no trouble.
Oh, hang on. 1 sec. Let me just Google it. Yes, you could listen to Hayden's debut album with 6 back to back on Spotify for 2.5 hours. On a serious point, I actually think they're really good sometimes to do these sort of lesser events, because you do get into, it's very hard to run those sort of things on your own, let's say. But I do think if you then can transport that to a bigger race, so what you've learned about yourself and having the control and the sort of mental toughness to then take that into a bigger race when there's people and that momentum that will naturally come behind you, I think it can be very powerful. So I would actually recommend all of you, and it doesn't matter whether it's a 10K or a marathon. I think some of the small events I love doing, like if I get a chance, some of the local events, like Wear 10s and stuff like that. These smaller events, they can be just amazing to meet new people, and you come across, really cool clubs and things like that. But you have to struggle it out on your own, and that's kind of cool, because when you do switch over, if you do eventually get there to a bigger race, you'll just be like, wow, and then all of a sudden it's a lot easier on that day. So yeah, what about you, Hayden? Have you ever?
Must be, if it's a smaller event, I think they said it was their first marathon as well. With anyone that does their first marathon, the advice all of us have always given to people is, just get through it, go there, enjoy it. Don't start thinking about really hammering it and doing your best time ever. Go there and just get through it. And I would treat it as much as possible as sort of like a long run. Build up to it, have your taper, and then just think to yourself in 3 weeks time. Don't think of it as becoming a marathon. Just think of it as, I've got a really long run on Sunday, and get through it. And once you get through it and you realize you can achieve that 26.2, then as you said, well, Chris, crack on and book one of the bigger ones. And that would give you a good foundation, a good setting. If you've got a bit of anxiety to jump straight into one of the big ones, maybe that's not the best idea. So maybe this plan going forward for your first marathon could be a good shout.
I think there's actually an upside. I don't know the race, I don't know the course, but assuming all that information has been shared, your support crew, your family or your friends that are coming to support can actually get quite close to you and could probably, be on the course at several different points during the course of the race. That's hard to do in some of the bigger races. As a runner, people are out there, you're looking for your friends and family, and it's easy to miss in such a big crowd. But, if the course is set up right, there's probably an opportunity to kind of have that moral support from your support crew at regular points on that long run, which you probably wouldn't get in a bigger run. So, look for those positives.
Ben, I've just seen something from Tony, from Lloyd. Tony, she's got a milestone this weekend, isn't she?
She has indeed. I believe it's her Flake Parkrun, which she's doing tomorrow. At the
Is it 100th?
No,
Yeah,
99.
99.
It's 99th.
Oh, so
Yeah.
nice. Yeah. What do I know?
100th, yeah. So, and then event next week for 100th.
Oh, there we go. So if you're 99 this weekend, where's their home? Because I went to, is it Cannon? No,
Can it
Chase.
Can it chase?
that's the one I went to, wasn't it? I think.
Yeah.
I don't know. If it is that one, hopefully I'm right. Go to it because it's a stunning park run. Honestly, it's one of the most beautiful park runs I've done. It really is stunning where they run. They're really lucky. They're like you, Hayden, with Bushy. You know, it's a really cracking place. I can't recommend it enough. Obviously, those guys are there, the Staffordshire satellite team. They're just the nicest, friendliest bunch of people you could ever meet. Really welcoming. And if you're listening to this and you know not got along to that satellite and you're in that area, make sure you get along because they really are top people that are down there, up there. Who are we? Where are we?
Must.
We're all over.
Yeah, right, Ben. What we got next? Moving through the chat.
I think the next one that's quite relevant, this might take us into our topic potentially today, is how much training should differ for 5K to 10K from Sebastian. And he says, don't just say double it.
Okay. Yeah, all right. Well, let's get into a bit of this now. So, mind you, I've just seen Adam Kelly. Reckon you could go under 135 on the half 40. I probably could have done the other week if Mark Wright hadn't slowed me down, to be honest. Leave that out of it. So it's true.
Your best man.
So how much should you train? So when we was topic, right? Let's just hit this on the head. So the reason for the topic tonight was it's a bit of a deliberate conversation sparker because all I see at the moment is everyone going, I'm going to work on speed. I'm going to work on speed. I'm going to work on my 5K. I'm going to work on my 5K. And I'm going to do this and I'm going to do that. And there is a tendency to sort of not do your stamina building and continue to build that endurance through you. Now, obviously, yes, getting faster will help that. Ultimately, it all helps each other, right? But is there an argument that maybe in one of your training blocks before you start, you actually focus on stamina? So that's strength and conditioning as well. And you work on that endurance and that stamina before you go into a block as well. It's different because it's everybody's talking about speed. But I think I wanted to really sort of emphasize tonight and highlight and discuss actually that you really need to be doing both. Does that make any sense? Al, would you agree?
Absolutely. I get the reason why people are focusing on speed because we've come out of marathon season. So a lot of our community will have been focusing on that long run and they just want something different. And, and flipping it on its head and thinking, 5K speed is just something different to focus on. I get the change of emphasis. But actually, the purpose of doing both is because you're actually training two energy systems and they are different. They both kick in on both long runs and short runs, 5Ks and marathons, and you have to constantly work. If you neglect one at the expense of the other, when you do come to try and fit it all together, you won't have made the gains you think you will have made. So, that's why the great training plans have speed work and endurance work.
Yeah,
balanced, not balanced out necessarily 50-50, because there's that 80-20 rule as well about running easy, but you're working your body differently, very deliberately for the different demands of speed and endurance, but you've got to bring it all together at some point.
Yeah. So Hayden, let's answer this question. If you was going to train for a 10K, how would you do that differently to if you was training for a 5K? What would you do different, or would you not do anything differently? Or would you just wing it like Ben does?
So probably all three, all of the above three. I would tweak it slightly, as I'll just refer to. If you're trying to improve your 5K time, it's not just about doing the speed sessions. You need them stamina sessions in. You need them long runs, which is going to work exactly the same as a 10K. The 10K possibly even a little bit more so. You need to train your body to. On a 5K, you start feeling uncomfortable at certain 3 or 4K. That sort of pace. At 10K, you're going to be feeling exactly the same as that, maybe at 7 or 8K. So you just need to learn how to let your body go through that. The thing is, people are getting obsessed with this speed thing. People got to remember with speed, it is limited to genetics. That's an absolute fact. There's only a certain speed each of us can go, depending on how we're born. Some people like your Kipchoge's or people like even your sprinters, Linford Christie's and that, their body's built. They've got a limit and their limit is so much higher than any of us. And it's really, really, really hard to get to that limit, let alone you can't push past that limit. Whereas endurance is limitless. You can really, really manipulate endurance. And the harder you train and the better you train, the more endurance-based your training will become. And within that endurance base, once you become comfortable with it, that's when you start to really promote the speed. And I always find it's better to promote the speed within an endurance session. Going out doing just pure speed sessions does help, absolutely. But I find that takes its toll on your body. So if I went out in the week, I've done an interval session on Tuesday, 5 by 1Ks. For me, that's the best way to improve your 5K time. If you're going out just to do that, that's my best sprint session, If I want to go fast, I'll do a K is pretty much at the 5K pace I want to do, and I'll have a standing recovery for a minute or 90 seconds. Do it again for 90 seconds and again for the 5K. And the week after, I would do it again and only have a 60-second rest. The week after that, a 30-second rest. And the week after that, come up to like your parkrun or your goal that you want to achieve. The rest gets forgotten about and you go through. Your body gets used to that pace and you get used to feeling uncomfortable. 10K, it is slightly different. To go out and do 10 1K reps, you are talking that will really take its toll on your body. You have people like I've watched Benny's running. He does things like that and he smashes them out, but that's his full-time job. And he is an athlete. We're teetering on elite. So for me, it is about getting that endurance, getting it inside you, getting your body to be able to handle this, the muscle fibers growing, and improve your speed within them long endurance sessions. If you're going to go out and do a 10 miler, if you do that 10 mile halfway, pick up to your 5K speed or pick up to your 10K speed, even if it's only for a mile or 2 miles, and see how your body reacts to it. See if it feels comfortable doing it at that. And literally within time, you'll start realizing when you come to doing them 5 and 10Ks, you'll just smash them out. Absolutely.
It's a good point. I always find my 10K time improves if I'm in a half marathon training block versus a marathon training block, because I tend to do sort of, 13, 14, whatever, maybe 15 miles, but I tend to do more sort of tempo, that lactate threshold work for that half marathon. I know you should do it for your marathon, but there's so many different components I try and put into play. But with a half, I try and dial it in a bit. And I always find if I'm doing a half training plan, my 10K time gets quicker. And I say, like Hayden just said, most of that's because I'm doing like 10-mile runs at sort of threshold pace, or with a mile warm up, mile cool down, something like that. So I'm doing a big slug of it at that sort of threshold pace. And then obviously I've got the speed stuff in the week as well, like the high stuff, like Hayden just gave a good example of, your 5 times 1K reps, repeats. So it's that sort of thing. But I always just find half marathon training seems to bring the best out of my 10K time, where sort of 5K, it just doesn't seem to improve. No, because I think because I'm doing the sort of longer stuff all the time, if I was probably to do a 10K training plan, like a 12-week 10K plan, I think firstly I'd have to go down the track to really dial in some of the speed sessions. I think I'd have to do probably get some good quality, like middle distance runs in as well to sort of really nail it down. But just hit it. Yeah, relatively. And probably do some of those double sessions that I do harder as well. So yeah, I think that's hard. What about you, Ben? Do you find that in terms of your 10K time, is that improved after a certain block, or does it just come down naturally?
I think for me, I really noticed with the marathon training that as I built up the kind of endurance across the longer distances, that I was able to then, I think much like Hayden's point in terms of, kind of mixing in, different paces within that I was able to then improve my speed. Like if you look at Chelmsford half, that final 5K I did 21:30 I think for the final 5K, which is probably my PB on that. So yeah, as I've built up the endurance and the longer distance, that's when I've then been able to kind of push the speed across.
Yeah, it is a funny one, isn't it? It's but I think that's why we want to talk about it. It's just everybody's obsessed with speed. But actually, I think everybody should be obsessed with building endurance, because the speed, I think, takes care of itself. If you're doing that and it's sort of you're still doing the speed stuff, but it tends to work better. That seems to work for me. I mean, everybody's different to me. Do you know what I mean? Like as you said, you gave a good example with Benny's running, Ben Felton, the work he does. But he's naturally a quick person. So, you know, you've got to take that. I have to work bloody hard to try and get my, as I said, it doesn't matter what I do, my 5K time don't come down. I think most of it's mental, to be honest with you. That's the other thing with 5K. I prefer a 10K to a 5K, even though a 5K is over quicker. I just sort of
Agree.
Yeah, just sort of blow it at the start because I feel like I've got to go hard, even though I'm trying to pace myself, it doesn't work. Then the mental battle starts. But realistically, if you actually step back, you go, "What are you doing, you fool? You've got 1 kilometer left. What's the matter with you? You've just, you know, I did 26.2 miles the other week, and you know, what's going on here?" Sort of thing. It's that a 5K. I just find is a real mental battle.
It comes back to that energy system. Your body is clicking through the anaerobic glycolytic system, which is all about finding that power, finding that energy. And then after about 20 minutes, it's kicking in. It's going, okay, if we're staying out here longer than that, I'm going to go and start looking for that oxygen in my body. So that's kind of why that 5K is a real beast of a distance to now consistently. I think where the benefits come, if you are wanting to do that speed work, is understanding why you're doing it. If the longer term goal is to get back into half marathons and marathons, because for me, this latest block, I've had a bit of more focus on speed, but it's all been about cadence. It's about teaching my brain to turn my legs over faster. Because if you've not run at 180 steps per minute, the first time you try it, you're not going to be able to do it. And it's going to feel really odd. So just building up that speed work by going 20-second reps, minute reps, 2-minute reps, and working with that cadence as being that purpose. Hopefully, when I come to start the next marathon block, my brain and my body's going, oh yeah, I kind of know 180 cadence. That kind of works for me now because we've been through that learning curve of trying it in short, sharp bursts. And then, you know, a bit like Hayden says, you're teaching yourself to kind of cope with whatever stresses that brings during your training.
I think it depends as well on what your goals are, whether you want to go for speed or stamina as well. Your long-term goals might be to run a fast 5K. So therefore, yeah, great, crack on with it. Or it might be, ultimately, you want to do an ultra. So you need to build that endurance base. It might be the fact of weight loss. If your goal is weight loss, that's why you're taking up a bit of exercise. Yeah, the faster runs, you're going to burn more fat. The faster runs are definitely going to give you more weight loss than what an endurance run is. Even though it sounds crazy, you've got an endurance run that might go on longer because you're not pushing your body as hard. You're not burning that fat as much. So that speed session will definitely get you to burn fat. And a lot of people do take up running and exercise for weight loss. So again, it just depends on what your goal is. But going back to what you said a minute ago, it's funny. I like it when you hear it because I've always had this thing in my head that for me, 5K is the worst distance for me out of everything. I find it really, really tough. And it probably is because you are going for it. You don't hold back. But honestly, when you're at the start line, if you're at a park run and you think, I'm going to give it a go today, going through your mind is like, I'm just not feeling this. And after you go to the first K, you're thinking, I can't carry on like this. But you never feel like that. I don't ever feel like that in a half marathon or a 10K. Marathon. No, or 10K. But in a 5K, always feel like that. It's horrible.
If anything, I try and speed up through a 10K. You know, the more pain, it sounds funny, but the more pain, the better. But, you know, like 7K, right, we're going to dig in here. We're going to beat the what's it out of this. But a 4K and a 5K, I'm like, oh, I need my mummy. It's like, do you know what I mean? It's like, give me, I'm going to stop and walk from here. But you've got a kilometre left. It's crazy. But as Al says, it's because you're using different energy systems. You're going through it and it's like reacting in different ways. And then your brain's not having a breakdown. But if you take a step back from it, it is kind of crazy. But yeah, I just think for anybody out there, right, who may have come out of spring marathon training, I know we've got people doing Leeds and stuff, and we've got Edinburgh coming up. But anybody who's come out of that season and is now focused on speed. Yes, I get it, but don't neglect the stamina. Don't neglect the endurance. You know, always make sure that one of those runs in the week is a sort of, let's say, medium to long run. Yeah. And then chuck a bit of pace in there because you'll still have pace in your legs from what you've done. So chuck a bit of goal in there or target pace, whatever you want to call it, through that run, just to keep yourself alive and keep that engine working because you're going to need it at some point. Well, you don't know what your end game is, but you're going to need it at some point. So feed it and give your engine a bit of tick over. Right, the chat box thing's going mental again, Ben.
Yeah.
What have we got?
Yeah, and I think just in terms of what you were just saying there, Aisha asks, how important are those easy runs? I only run 3 to 4 times a week. Is it better to focus on long runs or build speed to eventually cover the distance?
Bit of both, really. I think you've got to make sure that, yes, your easy stuff is super easy. I mean, we've said it a million times on here, right? I can only run 3 to 4 times a week. That's really good to be able to run 3 or 4 times a week. Some people can't even get out the door and do any running. So you're a hero. And I would look to do a mixture within those 3 to 4 runs. Make sure they're 3 to 4 quality sessions. None of it's junk. It's all got a purpose. You know, and in an ideal world, you're doing some form of easy work, you're doing some form of medium effort work, you're doing some form of high work, and then potentially some, longer mileage in there at some point. That's the perfect scenario. So if you're 3 to 4 runs a week, that's brilliant. Chuck in some strength and conditioning work, and you're Olympian. You're bordering on the line of Olympian standard. Okay, so give yourself a pat on the back for getting out for 3-4 times a week. You're a hero. Right, what else we got?
And I think on that is, as we discussed at the start of my training block, was every run's got a purpose, so you know what the purpose is from the run that you're doing. And kind of following on from that one, Niall asks, for stamina, how important is it to build large volumes? So, for example, do you really need to run, or do you really need to get up to 50 miles per week for a marathon?
Where's he got 50 miles from? Yeah, I mean, you see guys, right? This is the thing, again, girls pushing in 100-mile weeks, 100-kilometer weeks, and they're running like manic times and all this. But chances are they might be doing that full time. Could I run 100 kilometers a week? Probably physically no. But if I wasn't, doing what everything else I'm doing, then maybe if I was just full time on YouTube, yeah, I probably could do it. Maybe I'd have to build into it. And do I think that would improve my times? Yes, I think it would. If I'm really honest. I would have to do a good job at it. I'd have to make sure that none of that is junk. I'd have to make sure that that's all quality work. But I think I would enjoy it to a degree. But I think you've got to remember some of that is when they get into those bigger miles, it's peak mileage that you're referring to. You want to average it out over a 16, 18-week training block. But yeah, I do think mileage does make a difference. There is a lot to be said for it. But at the same time, I know people like Hayden who, he qualified and ran Boston, and he did it on relatively, I would say, lower miles. I mean, what was your average mileage, Hayden?
Probably on all my marathons, my peak weeks, my absolute peak weeks, I'm really probably 75, 78 kilometers. So yeah, just over 50 miles, 55 miles. Yeah. As you said, and I'm the first one to say it every single time, keep going back to it. Honestly, it is quality. From my opinion, it's quality over quantity. Get those quality sessions in, or just focus sessions, depending on what you are training for. That is a session you want to do. Don't just go out and just run loads of miles just for the sake of it because you want to improve your 5K. Or don't go out and do loads of sprints because you want to improve this. It has to be a quality session.
So you just made me think something then. My net mileage for London training block versus Amsterdam training block was lower.
Yeah.
Right. I ran a quicker time in London than I did Amsterdam. I had to have weight for size because he needed a lay down. But net, I ran less miles. But with London, the purpose of that training block was to focus on quality, which is what I genuinely did. I made sure that every run that I was doing actually had some sort of relevance to it. None of it was junk. So if I was running an easy run, that's probably because I'd run earlier on in the day and I'd done 3 or 4 miles at a relative rate of not somewhere probably around target pace, or I'd done, some form of progressive run, whatever it was. But I was then using the easy miles in the evening on my double run, or I'd do 4 miles easy on a Monday as a recovery run. So there was always a purpose, but net, it was less miles.
But again, that comes back to maybe you run a better race because you weren't as knackered.
No, this is goes back to the recovery training.
Yeah. You're working full time and you got to start smashing out 70, 80, 90 miles. That's going to take its toll on your body. It doesn't matter how long your taper is. Whereas when you're running a lot less miles, it's not going to take out on your body as much. You recover quicker. You're in better shape, and you're not as tired. So, well, you've just proved the point on them 2 marathons for yourself. But it works differently for everyone, obviously.
Yeah, it is about. It's got to be what works for you, and obviously that kind of comes with the practice. Because I think for London, the most I hit in 1 week was maybe just under 40, and I definitely never got into the 40s within my training plan. And
you ran 3 hours 42 minutes.
Yeah,
it was quality. When we sat down and done your plan, Ben, we went, right, your life is X. This is what you're going to be able to get in, being reasonable as an everyday runner. This is what you're going to be able to achieve. We focused 100% on quality in that training plan, and he ran 3:42. You're welcome, by the way. So I think get that in there. Oh, Niall just said he got 50 miles from me. So I don't know where I dropped that. But that's probably because my peak mileage was, I think, in London was about 52 miles. So that again, that when I was doing Amsterdam, I had quite a few weeks at 50 miles. But I really had to plan them out. It sounds funny, but I really had to make sure that work the numbers out to go, right, to get that, I need to do this. And with London, I wasn't that fussed. It was more about, right, I want to get 8 miles at, 8, whatever it was, per mile pace. And I need to get that this week. And that was more important than it was than just trying to get mileage just for the sake of mileage.
Well, I just want to come in on there because John E has made a good point, and he's supported all the stuff we've said about variety and mixing it up. But his comment just at the end there is, and we all do it, we get fixated with a 7-day week. So it's 50 miles over 7 days. And he's making the point, you don't have to train to a 7-day week. He uses a 10-day block.
Brilliant.
And if that means it gives you more space to recover and you can build in a better mix of runs, then, there's nothing wrong with training to something other than a 7-day or as an alternative to a 7-day. 7 days is easy because we plan it. Sunday's a long run, but it doesn't have to be as fixed as that.
Anybody play 40 bingo, get ready. Kafuzi's my hero. And if you watch his latest video, he's changed to a 9-day training plan, a 9-day cycle. Watch that video. It's really interesting on how he's changed it up into a 9-day cycle. Alan's absolutely on the money there. You don't have to train to a 7-day training. Like as we always say, people who've got shift patterns working nights again, because we're everyday runners, so we're all out there working, and we're mums, dads, all this sort of stuff, carers, and think about a nurse, the hours that they work. How the hell are they going to train for a marathon based on theirs? So a 7-day plan for a nurse is probably the worst thing you could give them if you was doing them a training plan. Yeah. So again, that's the sort of thing you need to think about. So it doesn't volume, yes, but it's quality. Always comes back to quality. Right. So Ben, what else have we got?
Cool. So just before we move on to another question, I want to give a shout out to Paul Smith, who emailed in. He ran London this year. It was his first London after 21 attempts in the ballot. So first of all, well done for persevering with the ballot. And at the finish line, he proposed to his partner, and she said yes. So congratulations to you both. Hopefully the long run show got you through your training block and the marathon.
Does that mean we get invited to the wedding? We could do a live show from their wedding.
Exactly. Don't book a DJ. We could.
No, admin can do karaoke because she loved karaoke, right? Absolutely loves it.
Al can do games.
Al can do games. Hayden can do a few numbers, although we'd have to sort out the lawyers first.
Absolutely.
Right? But he could do something from Oliver, because that's what I've been Googling it, by the way. Don't tell lies. You was Oliver. We all know you was Oliver. I'm going to show the pictures next week, but I can't play the music because we get copyright strike. So, so we could do that. I mean, it's brilliant.
Absolutely.
And Wilco could just drink all their beer.
Yeah.
I don't know what I just eat.
Yeah.
All he's been doing, right, is sending me pictures of the food he's eating. That's all he's doing, right? I'm not joking. I could waste hours of everybody's lives just putting up pictures of the food that Spigo's been sending me. It's borderline disgusting what they're feeding the boy and how much of it they're expecting. But two, it's the fact that he's consuming all this food is even worse. He's going to come back. He reckons obviously that he needs a large t-shirt. We all know he's going to need a double XL after this week. What are you laughing at? Right, Ben, where else? Oh, hang on. What's this? What does everyone... Okay, this is a good question. Absolutely unrelated completely to everything we've spoken about tonight. What watch does everybody use? So, I use a Garmin 965. I couldn't remember the name. Forerunner 965. Ben, what are you using?
Forerunner 245.
Al?
Phoenix 5, but I don't know what all the buttons do. Although I've got a stride pod now, Ben. I saw you in Ibiza with your stride pod. So
Oh, no, this
it's
is good.
another.
No, we're not
it's
talking
another-
tripods tonight.
Amazing.
I'm not
Now
having
we
it.
have a conversation.
We'll have a side conversation.
Yeah, no, I'm not having tripods on this podcast when Speedgoat's not here. If Speedgoat was on here, right, we'd now spend 3 days talking about it, but he's not here, so he can jog on. Oliver, sorry, Hayden, what do you what watch you got?
I have got the Phoenix 7X. I actually like it. The problem of it is it gets stressed. It got stressed about a month ago and it kept giving me these wrong predictions. So I had to send it back. It was fully broken. And they sent me a brand new one. So if you are going to get one, don't listen to the predictions because
It's
it'd been
amazing.
stressed.
My watch was like perfect. Like
I know. It must be the Phoenix 7. It's got an issue. It's a problem. It's like there
maybe
might be a recall.
as well.
Product recall. Could be.
Yeah, could be. That's probably what
Yeah.
I was betting. But anyway, a bet was a bet. A game was a game. Forfeit was a forfeit. So we'll have to deal with that later. Someone was saying I look a bit lighter than I did.
I didn't want to shout that out, but
You
apparently
look like you're a bit lighter now than outside. Funnily enough, actually, this is a weird thing to finish the show on. So this training blog, usually I put weight on, mainly because I like crisps. But this time round, I actually lost weight, which is weird. I lost half a stone during this training block, which is the first training block I've lost weight. Now I've not really changed anything in terms of my diet. If anything, I've got worse. And you would think, getting older, obviously I'm nowhere near as old as Hayden or like Alan's like biblical age, right? But in terms of those two, I'm still very, very, very young. But you would have thought getting that little bit older that I would put weight on. So yeah, it's a funny one. This time around, I lost half a stone, which I know. By the way, I'm working very hard to put that back on, just so everybody knows. So whoever that was, thanks for the compliment. And yeah, so we've got to give a shout out, Al. We've got a competition running, haven't we? So that's important that we talk about that very quickly.
Yeah, very quickly. Again, we've talked about this in the past. We're going again to do Harp 24, which is a 24-hour endurance run. It was only 18 hours last year because thunderstorms got in the way. We're planning on doing 24. Because of the fun and excitement that we generated, we've got, I think, nearly 40 FORDY'S already signed up to take part. But we are committing to do some fundraising for that. It's the event's put on by local homeless charity, and they do amazing stuff down in Southend. And we are, I suppose, in effect, raffling off a dry robe for just £5 entry. So head over to the FORDY RUNS Facebook page. Look for one of the pinned posts. I think they're there, Hayden, aren't they?
Yeah, I think so, yeah.
Details of how to enter our dry robe. You can enter as many times as you want, £5 an entry, and the lucky winner will be drawn live at the end of Harp 24 in the middle of June sometime. I forget the date. I think it's the 19th. It's Father's Day, Sunday. So what could be a better prize than winning your own dry robe? And if you've already got one, they make fantastic gifts for loved ones and friends and family. So
and I tell you what, they ain't cheap
to enter.
They're not cheap. So by putting a couple of fivers in, it's a good shout because I live in mine when coaching and stuff. It's brilliant. Honestly, it's the best bit of kit I've got. Definitely get involved in that, please. Hayden, I'll tell you the other thing we need to mention, because one of the joys, right, we're going to take it out on, if you don't mind being a bit self-indulgent. One of the joys in the week for me is seeing we have a Facebook Messenger group. Is that the right way? I'm so like,
I think so, yeah.
Whatever, 1987. And one of the joys is to see the satellite leader. So if you're a satellite leader, you're inducted into the Hall of Fame, into this group. It's like basically a WhatsApp group. And within that, the guys communicate, talk about what's going on and all that sort of stuff. But also what they do is they post pictures from their satellite groups. And Kim, who's amazing, who looks after us all on the social media side of things, she's got her own photography thing. Make sure you check her out as well on Instagram. She took some amazing pictures at the London Marathon for us. But she posts them all out, all the pictures. And one of the most amazing things in the week, and if you're having a really, really one of those days, or if you're like me and you get down a bit, to see then all those pictures of everybody all over, literally all over the country, weekly meeting up together as part of all this madness that we've created, It really is incredible. And what's amazing this week, again, is we've had new satellites start. So, Hayley, you're the best person, the best place to just literally just give everyone a shout out before we close it out.
Yeah, well, obviously, everyone knows about all the satellite groups we had, but this week starting up, we had one run by our very own coach out there in London East. So if you're around the East London area, have a look online on the Facebook page or get in touch with me. We also had Lucy Blewett. She started one up down in Brighton, which is going to be a very, very big one because all of us love to run in Brighton. But exciting news as well is coming, not next week, the week after on the Monday. I've got 2 new ones starting. One in Sheffield, which is taking off really well. It's got a big catchment area. So that's going to be a fantastic run by 2 guys. And another one that's going to be starting up down in Exeter. So if you are in Sheffield or Exeter, or you visit the areas or you have family there, get in touch and I'll get you involved in the group and you will not regret
They're
it.
both quite hilly, those ones. Just saying.
Yeah. Right, actually, and that's a good way out. Well done. Brilliant, as always. So, again, good luck to everybody running the Leeds Marathon. See what I did there? Make sure you get over to Spotify and check out 6. It's Hayden's debut album when they did it with 5 before he left. If you're going to, what's the actual proper name of the Parkrun now that you're at tomorrow?
Somerdale Parkrun is its official title.
Yeah.
Just
okay,
outside.
Make sure you get there. Obviously, if you're in York, go and see PB with a crew of mishaps. Ben put it in the private chat. That's what he described you lot as. I don't know what. I'm doing something very different tomorrow, but I'm not going to tell you what that is. But I'm doing something completely different. But I'm turning off my phone this weekend. So if anybody wants me, don't bother trying to get hold of me because I won't answer. And I think that's it. So I've got to give a shout out to Skechers. Thank you very much for sponsoring this podcast. Get over to skechers.co.uk. Check out the hoodies like Hayden's wearing, but also the Go Run Ride 11. I did a review of that came out this week. Ben, what are you up to tomorrow?
Kingston Parkrun. I need a K.
Kingston Parkrun. So get along there, see Ben, but don't, if they've got any photographers, don't bother trying to get a photo because you will get benned. And that's it. We wish you all a very, very nice weekend. I'm going to try and work out how to do the graphics. I think we've been quite well behaved tonight. I think we've got away with murder. So thanks to everybody for listening, and we shall see you all later. Right, where's this button? Oh, tight. Get ready for it.